Hello, this is the voice of Christopher Biowa, the guy who makes Godzillas and lives with his grandmother. Like any other 26-year-old. Anyways, this video is to serve as a visual on how I go about making some of my artworks. And this video is going to focus on my Fusion Godzilla bust that I made for G-Fest 2016. This sculpture kind of serves as a maquette of sorts for a Godzilla suit that I'm currently producing for G-Fest 2017. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so here's where my sculpture started. Just a pile of materials. There's a Lazy Susan, some sculpting tools, some wet clay, an aught light for good overhead lighting, some armature wire, and some concept art that I drew out. So what's happening here is that I'm making the armature that will support the clay sculpture. I just took some armature wire and kind of put it into the general shape that I think the bust is going to go in. And then I wrap it with tinfoil to kind of fill the general space, which will make the sculpture hollow inside, and that way I end up using less clay, and it's not as heavy either. So I'm just doing a lot of wrapping of the armature with the tinfoil to kind of build up the form. I know it looks like a worm on a wood block right now, but that's the thing about these projects, is that it's going to go through some awkward stages, and it's going to look funny and weird sometimes. But if you just keep at it, keep working towards that image you have in your head, you can produce some great stuff. So here I'm just trying to produce a recognizable head and torso. Just focusing on specific areas to bulk out to where it says, yep, that's Godzilla. I use tape to kind of hold down the tinfoil just to kind of keep it to the form that I want. A really cool thing is, as you go, you can bend the armature wire kind of to the shape that you want. And here is the finished shape for the clay to be added. I wrapped it in tape so that there'd be a better bond with the clay. So once I added clay to the armature, I began kind of just getting basic shapes and forms down, slowly getting it into the shape of Godzilla. Here you can see neck detail kind of taking shape, and basic structure of the face and the chest. And yeah, he's looking less like a worm and more like a snake now, I guess. One thing I should add is that it's very important to keep the clay moist and wet. That way it doesn't dry out. I end up spritzing it with water every 5 to 10 minutes.
The dorsal plates were a little tricky because they were kind of added individually. It was very fun to just play around with the different shapes.
Here I'm starting to get into a little more detail, and you'll notice as it progresses here, I get a little more and more specific with his scale patterns and other deformities happening all over his skin. Eventually, the teeth end up getting replaced with sculpty teeth, kind of as just placeholders, just so I can see in my mind how the mouth looks with teeth in there. And yeah, it slowly but surely just kind of comes together here. And you know, I'm working into his spikes now, his dorsal plates, and yeah, he's looking pretty good, I'd say. Here I've built up a form for where his name ends up going. I kind of etched into the clay the Japanese symbols that say Gojira, and it's kind of there just to kind of see where I need to pop out the symbols. This is a very important picture to me because it shows just what a little bit of detail can do to a very blank space. So this is his neck, and you can see where I've added detail, whereas opposed to up above it where it's kind of blank. So, the moment of truth. He's just drying out right now. Then I'll spray some shellac on him to seal in all that detail. And then I can get cracking on that silicone mold. So get a good look at him now, because this might be the last time we see him if I fail miserably. But hopefully it won't get to that. All the papers laid down for the big mess. The Godzillas are standing by in support. Got my music going. Let's get cracking.
And that was how I made my sculpt. My next video is going to focus on the mold making process, so stay tuned for that.